Welcome to the Pickleball Addiction Podcast. Today I'm excited to talk to Will Chang, also known as Pickleball Will on YouTube, to talk to him about the creation of pickleball content from some of the biggest names in the industry, as well as for his own YouTube channel. Welcome, Will.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Great to be on. Thank you for having me.
No, well, thank you for taking the time. Is this your first interview from out of the UK?
Out of the UK, yes. Not my first interview, but definitely my first interview out of the UK. So that's pretty cool. I can, check that off my bucket list.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So now we have Thanksgiving because obviously you had what time is it for you now right
now? Right now it is 9:15 a.m. For me.
Respectable.
Right, respectable. Right. Not a big deal. And what is it over for you? What you're in the afternoon, cool. I'm assuming?
Yeah, 3:15 now. So getting towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So yeah, thanks again. If you don't listen or watch Will's podcast, then do you have it on audio as well? Because I need to watch it on YouTube. But do you have it as an audio, your podcast?
Yes, we do.
Channel?
You
do.
Yep. You can catch it on Spotify, I think Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Chris made sure that you can listen to us wherever you go.
Well, that's Pickleball Studio. So that's like the one you co-host, right, with Chris. But I was talking about your Pickleball Will YouTube channel. Do you have that? Any of that on audio as well? Yeah.
There's no audio. I have no audio for my own personal channel. Most of that is just video related. So yeah, there's no separate show there that is like my own podcast. Although I have thought about it, but it would just be way too much work for me to handle right now. Maybe in the future I'll do a separate podcast where it's just me and my thoughts, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. So you can check it out, Pickleball Will's YouTube channel, but also Pickleball Studio podcast, which is one of the best podcasts, pickleball podcasts out there. So if you haven't already started listening to it, you should. So go subscribe. So for people that haven't heard about you or watched your channel, or even for people that have, it'd be good to get a little bit of background about yourself. Will, can you tell us how you got started into pickleball?
Yeah, I think my origin story is much like everyone else's. I started playing pickleball, at least more heavily, during the dawn of the pandemic, or maybe a little bit into it. I did play once or twice before then. I saw a few people playing at some recreational centers while I was there swimming or playing basketball. And I thought it was very interesting. It was cool. And I, picked up a paddle and I played and I thought it was fun, but I was still heavily into tennis at the time. I even played a little table tennis back then still as well. But it didn't really, I don't know, maybe the level was not as high, so it didn't really catch my interest. But then during the pandemic, I was trying to play a lot of tennis with my uncle and his friends. We play a lot of doubles, but they locked up all the tennis courts in our neighborhood, in his neighborhood, around the town. And so he invited me over and he set up a pickleball court in his driveway. I don't even think the dimensions were correct now that I think about it. I think the kitchen was 6 feet from the net, and I think it's supposed to be 7 feet. So I don't know, I could really reach in and hit, but I had a good time playing with him. And then it wasn't until I was driving by like the next town over and they had some dedicated courts. When I drove by, I saw a lot of people on these courts, and I thought it was a tennis court, and I was like, I've never seen so many people like on a tennis court, and I thought all the courts were locked up. So I actually drove in to see if they were tennis courts so I could play tennis essentially, but they were pickleball courts. And the first time I saw dedicated courts, and then I saw some people playing, and then one of the people there needed a fourth, and they invited me to come play with them. I didn't have anything. I was just driving by, but I said yes, and
nice.
That's when I started playing some really high level players, and I got destroyed, and I never had so much fun losing. So I just came back, and then after that, I just kept on playing, and I was addicted. I had the bug. Went every day, every single morning, and I just played and played and played. So that's kind of how I got started in pickleball.
Nice. Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different to I don't know, some people's origin story.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, what is the origin story, with you and there? I'm going to assume that it's a bit more like grassroots, like, people are setting up and lining up some sort of courts at their gym or somewhere or at their playground, and then there has to be some sort of, I don't know, ambassador of some sort who's trying to
Yeah,
get people to come and play and gain interest in the
yeah.
sport.
No. Yeah, I guess everybody's a bit different, right? So yeah, I guess everyone thinks they're the standard story, I guess. But I guess mine, if I think about mine, it's a little bit different too. So, but
Is it done like that? Like, do you have courts over in the UK?
yeah, it's all badminton courts. So, like pretty much like all badminton courts. So,
Okay.
occasionally, like we'll have competitions or festivals, which are they tape out courts on tennis courts, and you can use like outdoor balls, and like that's just a whole lot more fun. Like the English Open this year, they had like roll out mats, like the roll
Mm.
out carpets where it's kind of more dedicated. But there's hardly any dedicated courts like at all in the UK at the moment. They're going to be coming next year, but right now everyone's playing on wooden floors and badminton courts and like squidgy indoor balls.
Gotcha. Okay. That's cool though. Very grassroots.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I went up to Arizona early in the year, so I managed to get a taste of like what it's like.
Nice.
Once it's been more established. So,
Mm-hmm.
so are you full time in pickleball now?
Yes. I'm full-time in pickleball. Went full-time earlier this year. I mean, technically I was full-time the years before, but like now 100% of my focus. Like, before I would do other video jobs and odd jobs here and there to make ends meet, and then beginning of this year I said, okay, I'm gonna put my sole time and focus like into pickleball, and it's worked out for me, even though I've been like kind of working in pickleball and doing my channel for, I don't know, I would say a year and a half to 2 years, even prior to the start of this year. But yes, I am full time in pickleball now.
Yeah. Okay, so you didn't have like a particular career or anything before you started doing pickleball. It was kind of more
Like a career in pickleball, or you mean just
before pickleball. Like what?
nah? Like I did a lot of odd jobs before. I mean, I've worked teaching tennis for like about 2.5, 3 years, and then also off and on, like afterwards, I was in government, like contractual sales and like proposals. I've done like IT sales. I've done like I worked in the mortgage industry for a short period of time, but just nothing really stuck, and I don't know, I really just didn't like it, and it wasn't until pickleball that I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. And then also I did work as a photographer and videographer for like an actual company, and then I did some freelance like photography and videography work uh, as well. So yeah, just a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah, bits and bobs. Okay, that sounds cool. So one of the things you do, so we'll go into like you do a lot of content for a lot of different people, right? And we'll kind of start covering that. But like, I guess you started out with Chris and doing the Pickleball Studio. Um, when did you first like get acquainted with Chris? Like, how did you first meet, and how did that all happen? Hi, Mark Mars here. I hope you're enjoying the show. This podcast is sponsored in part by the Pickleball Addiction store and newsletter. To support the show, please check out the Pickleball Addiction store at pickleballaddiction.co, where we stock a wide range of paddles, balls, nets, and other accessories. Use coupon code POD10, that's POD10, to get 10% off your first purchase. You can also check out the Pickleball Addiction newsletter at pickleballaddiction.news, where we cover the latest news in pickleball from the UK and around the world. Thanks for your support, and now back to the show.
Yeah, that was, I think, near the end of 2021. Um, Chris and I actually started around the same time. I was doing videos for pickleball, like for fun, and this was when the chainsaw serve was still legal. And I made a video on the chainsaw serve. And then shortly after, I'm pretty sure he did too. His came out maybe like a couple days or a week right after mine. And I remember seeing his. And because at the time, there wasn't a lot of pickleball content creators out there. And if there were, they weren't of, I guess, high quality. And Chris had really good quality. And this is when I was just starting to get back into photography and video because I was looking for work and my skills were a little rusty. So I reached out to Chris on social media and I said, hey, I really like your work. I would love to collaborate with you and then also to kind of like learn from you because I could tell he's good and his skills are more polished than mine. So it was more of like personal, like professional development. And so I hit him up and he kind of reluctantly said yes. And I made it as easy as possible for him. I said, I will fly up to you. I'll get my own place and we can play pickleball. We can make some content together. And yeah. And at this time I was broke. I didn't have any money. I didn't know if this was going to go anywhere. It could have been a total flop, but yeah, I put that flight and that Airbnb and the car rental on my credit card, and I went up there, and then we just hit it off, like, and we became really good friends, and then we just, started making more videos like together, and we would critique each other's videos and help each other out, and and that's how kind of the podcast started because we would just talk about pickleball all the time, and I said, Chris, we have all this audio equipment, we have all this camera equipment, we should just record our conversations and turn it into a podcast. So the podcast was actually my idea. Like the first pilot episode is actually on my channel. And then when he started, getting more involved, he was like, hey man, do you want to put this on your channel? This is kind of your idea. And I said, no, let's put it on your channel. Because at the time he had a larger following. I think I only had like 1,000 subscribers and he had maybe 6,000 at the time. So I said, no, just put it on yours. Like I want people just to hear our conversations. And yeah, we just kept on making content together. And that's how I kind of met Chris,
Yeah. Because I was listening to some of the early podcasts that you've done, the early videos you've done. And then, did you have a different name for it at the start? Was it called the Not Pickleball Podcast?
Yes, that was that. Yeah, it was. We didn't have a name yet, so we were like, "What are we going to title this?" And I said, "Just title it a Not Pickleball Podcast." And I kind of liked the name of that. I thought it was a little cheeky and it was kind of funny, and it was memorable in my opinion. Like, like what podcast you listen to? Oh, we're listening to the Not Pickleball Podcast. I think people would remember it. But he rebranded to the Pickleball Studio Podcast, and I think that's perfectly fine. It makes the branding of the podcast and association with him much stronger. So I'm perfectly cool with that.
Yeah, nice. So are you based in Tulsa, right?
Yes, I'm based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and for you listeners out there that don't know where that is, that's a state just north of Texas. I think most people, like even around the world, like heard or know about Texas. It's one of the larger states in the continental United States. So yeah, that's where I'm based out of, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Cool. And what's growth been like in Tulsa specifically of pickleball?
Oh yeah, it's been growing. Maybe not as like strong, I would say, as some other places, but it's still pretty strong. It's not as large, but I mean we're just about to open up our first indoor facility here, and I don't know. I've only been here for about a little over 2 years. I'm originally from Washington D.C., and the growth here has been pretty crazy to me. I think when I first got here, I could go to our public courts. I wouldn't have a problem finding, a free court to go play on. And now when I go, they're always packed. and they're all packed with younger like people and kids who are now playing. Before it was much older individuals who would be out there playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have like and then I know they're building out some more courts, and yeah, this whole area it's just growing. I wouldn't say it's growing as fast as some other places, but I think that's kind of a good thing, because I want the city and our community to I want the supply and the demand for courts to kind of match each other. Because I go to some other cities and there's a lot of people playing, but they don't have enough courts, or court time or parks to play at. And over here, although I do still feel we could use some more courts, it doesn't feel that bad just yet, where you're struggling
Yeah.
to find places to play.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I know it's definitely like that in some places in the States, right? Or it's a nightmare to actually
Yeah.
try and get a game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know New York, it's a bit tough. They just built out some dedicated parks and courts in Chicago. I just visited my brother in Chicago. Surprisingly, in certain parts, in certain cities in Texas, it's kind of hard. Like, you'd think that in Austin, Texas, where the home of where like the Ranchers pickleball team, where a lot of the pros play, like they would have a lot of public courts there, but
Mhm.
there's actually not as many as you would think. Like, at least not enough to meet the demand of the people playing there, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think it's getting better. Uh, I think it's just public courts. There's some private stuff, that you can find around, but yeah, public courts though, it's harder to find.
Okay. So now you're spending a lot of your time creating pickleball content, not only for your own channel and with Chris, but for other people as well. So
Yep.
you've gone from being the student to being the master, right? So who do you create content for right now?
Let's see. Well, right now it's actually just me, and Selkirk. Uh,
Hmm.
those are the only people I create content for. And I guess I used to create some content for Chris. He hired me to do a few edits for him, but he quickly told me that like you should focus making your own stuff. Like, it'd be much more fruitful, for me. And I agree. And let me see. Before that, I was doing some stuff for Zane Navratil, and then I did make some content or covering some events, such as some tournaments like for the Beer City Open. And then, of course, with working for Selkirk, I essentially covering. Sometimes I cover some of the Selkirk pros, like at tournaments and things. Like, they will ask me, occasionally, or if I want to go to a certain event and to help cover some of their players.
Because you didn't do anything for Jordan. I thought you did stuff for Jordan Briones at some point as well. But did I imagine that?
Um, I did. Well, it's like those are like I didn't do an actual set of videos. It'll be like one-off videos, and a lot of those things are collaborative, right?
Hmm.
They like I'll see Jordan, I'll help him record a video, I'll be in his video, and maybe I'll help him edit that piece or that portion, and that's about it. But there's no formal contract or long-term, uh, working agreement, But I am in a few of Jordan's videos. I'm also in some of Kyle Kazuda's videos, that pickleball guy, and of
Yeah.
course, Shea Underwood as well. When I see these guys, they have video ideas. I'm usually one of the first to like kind of raise my hands, like, yeah, let's make this thing kind of come to life. Your idea come to life, and I'll take whatever role that they need. If they need me to stand in and be in the video, I'll do that. If they need help editing some of it, I'll do that. If they need help directing the video or consulting about the video, so whatever roles that they kind of need, I'll usually fill in. So yeah, I mean that's kind of just what I like to do, is to just help other people create content. Especially if I have time. It's been a lot harder now that I'm focusing on my own channel, and obviously I have to help sell Kirk, and they have a lot of content being pumped out right now as well.
So what does a normal day look like for you?
Oh man, the normal day for me is, I wake up, I check emails from Selkirk to see what projects are on the docket, if there's any small edits that I need to do, or maybe thumbnails that they need from me to create. Right now, I'm going through like the backlog of stuff that I've already created for them in the past, and now I'm moving it to a page on their website for Selkirk University, and just looking at the product timeline, right, in the pipeline to see what's coming up, and then I have to check. After that, it's basically after I check my emails, it's shipments. I usually have a crap ton of like shipping notifications, either from other companies or from Selkirk, and I list them out and I try to track them to see what I'm expecting, right? Because I don't want to lose any packages, any paddles, any products, bags, things like that, because it has happened, before. So that's the thing that I do. And then, of course, I'll collect packages from the previous day or a couple days, and then I try to see and figure out what they are and see if I need to make a video about it, and then I'll unbox them, organize them, and then after that, it's kind of just like, getting like brunch or getting like a late breakfast. And then after that, the days, depending on the day of the week, I will either be focusing on one like creative task, like, it'll be an editing day, and then another day will be a day where I focus on just writing scripts for videos, and then another day will be focused on just more like administrative work or planning, and then some days I'll focus on being on the court and testing out paddles and playing and capturing like content on the court, and then another day I'll focus on capturing content like in studio, like A-roll, like where I read out the scripts that I've written out. So it's not down to an exact science just yet, but I'm trying to develop more structure in my week as I get busier and busier.
Okay. That sounds cool. I think I could take a leaf out of your book. I'm struggling with that. I flip from task to task too much. I mean, I have a newsletter, right? A UK based newsletter like the Dink, but for UK focused stuff. I just focus on that on one day, but I do too much of like, I do a bit of social media here and then a bit of admin here and a bit. I need to just do full days like you, I think.
Yeah, full days where you can just focus on one task or item. It makes you more productive, and it kind of like helps you get in the zone. And you can imagine, and I can imagine for you, that if you're focused on writing and then you got to focus on editing, you got to change apps, or if you're recording, at least for me, I had to move my camera around and set up things differently. And if I try to do all that in one day, it just adds up. You got to batch kind of like the work a little bit, for it to be better for you.
Yeah, I'm still feeling my way around kind of what it is I'm doing. So it has been a bit ad hoc, but I've been feeling lately I need to get more structure in, and I think that might be a good way to go. I'm going to do that. So is there anything new like we can expect from yourself or from the stuff you're doing with Cirk or anybody that you're able to share, like, coming up in the next few months or so, or is there more of the same?
Oh, like you mean like new as in what? Like you mean like products?
New projects. New products could be new products, but I was thinking like new project stuff, something you might be starting, maybe with another brand or with just Selkirk, something that you're doing with them or for your own channel.
Well, let's see. Well, for Selkirk, I probably can't talk too much about some up and coming products, but I think I can tell you that they are revamping like their whole entire lineup for next year, like a whole refresh and updating some product lines. I think updating a lot of the product lines. So stay tuned for that. In terms of projects, I mean, yeah, I have a bunch of projects. So I'm currently I haven't really told anybody yet. So I mean, you're one of the first to know, I guess. But I just kind of launched a website, and similar to like how Chris or John Q does it, it's just an about me page. It'll have my blogs and it'll have some of my videos up there. It just needs to be updated, but it's up there, it's out in the wild. I just haven't really marketed or let people know that it's out there yet. I probably still want to do a few tweaks to it, but I'll probably start having more written content soon, maybe start a newsletter of my own, and then I also have a collaboration that is coming up with Braden from Pickleball Effect. We are doing some edge tape with my personal like icons around it. Let me see if I have it with me. Maybe I can show you guys. Oh yeah, here it is. This is the logo, and then this is just some edge tape, with my icons on it.
Nice.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just kind of fun, And let me see. Here's on the other side of another paddle. So,
nice. Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I have a bag that I'm working on with a company called ADV. I'm really excited about that. They reached out to me, and me and the owner, we actually have a lot in common. We are both of Cambodian ethnicity, and we're also from the same town in Washington, D.C., although I moved, but we've never, crossed paths. But he has asked me to help him develop this pickleball bag. I'll send you a link to kind of like a little bit of the copy about it. There's not too much information on it, but I've been helping him develop the bag. It'll probably launch in Kickstarter next spring, I would say, while we go through, I think, one more iteration. I also am probably going to be working with Bread and Butter to make some hats soon as well. And I mean, I just like, it's like a theme with me. I just kind of like collaborating and working with people in other companies, especially if, their values and their views align with mine. And everybody has a little bit of something that I like. So there might be some more collaborations in the future. And of course, working with Chris, we have some ideas as well to maybe up, some of our apparel. And I think that's it about so far that I can think about. There might be some other stuff, that I've planted the seeds already, but they haven't sprouted yet, so probably not worth talking about.
Yeah,
those are some of the projects that I'm working on.
That seems like plenty. That sounds like quite a lot already.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
So what's the URL of your new website then, just so we can get that out there?
It's just pickleballwill.com.
Easy. That's an easy to remember. That's good.
Yes. Yep. Pickleballwill.com.
So what equipment are you using at the moment? Are you using Cirk equipment? Seeing as you're doing some work for them, like
when I go compete in a larger tournament, even in some of the smaller ones, like it will be a Selkirk paddle. Usually I'm testing out something new, but right now my go-to paddle is the Project 006. And if I go to maybe a more local tournament, or I know I need to test out paddles, like I will pick out of my bag whatever that I need to test out right now, because nothing helps you test out like a paddle like competition, right? This is where you're putting everything on the line, you know what I mean? And you can really see how you and the paddle like perform, and if you really like it, right? Because you're trying to eke out every bit of performance from the paddle. So right now, Project 006, I am testing out the Bread and Butter Loco, and let's see, the Volair Forza Mach 2, and then Thrive, a company called Thrive, has a prototype out that I've really been enjoying and like playing with. So those are kind of like the ones. Oh, and then Groovin's Move In 16S. Those are kind of like the main paddles that have kind of been in my bag that I've been kind of testing, or at least that I've been gravitating towards as of late.
Yeah, no, that's pretty. Yeah, I find it hard, like trying out new paddles. Even if I go to a festival, like I just want to use the one that I'm used to because I want to win that rec game anyway. It's got a,
Right.
it's kind of yeah hard just to like pick up a new paddle and then just go into competition with it. You must, they all got their own nuances,
Yeah,
right? They're all a little bit different. So
they are. But I don't know. I think I've played like with so many of them that I think I've developed like my own profile for each paddle. Like, okay, like this is a paddle that's more elongated or that is more head heavy or that I know plays a certain way. And I kind of group certain paddles into buckets. And then I'm like, okay, with this group of paddles, I know I need to play a certain kind of play style, right? I need
mhm.
to be softer on my drops or my dinks, or these set of paddles I need to be driving, and relying on my, fast hands to win out the points. So my style changes a little bit from the paddles that I choose to play with, right? But I've kind of narrowed it down a little bit now where I have an idea of how a paddle will play, and then I'll adjust my play style and my shot selection accordingly.
Yeah, yeah. So how often do you play at the moment? Often do you get out and play properly?
Not as much as I would like to, or not as much as you would probably think. I used to play maybe 3, 4 times a week, and now it's probably down to anywhere between 1 to 2. You know, like
Yeah,
I'll add in an extra day if I can squeeze it in, but I'm more busy like in the editing room or with my
collaborating.
notebook writing. Yeah, collaborating,
Yeah,
right? Exactly, throwing out ideas.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I've been
yeah,
doing a lot more of. So probably don't play as nearly as much. And with Chris, it was like the same thing, but now he's got his schedule and his days figured out. So he's able to now play, I think twice a day now. Maybe four
Wow,
or
is
five
he?
times a week. He'll play. Yeah, he'll play in the morning. He'll wake up super early. He'll go to either drill, well, he'll usually drill, or test out paddles in the morning where he's not bothered super early, come back, eat breakfast, and then he'll work on editing or something in the afternoon. And then in the evening, he'll go play for fun. Like, that's kind of like how his day goes.
Yeah, nice. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, we can all learn
So
from him.
yeah, for sure. That's cool. That's cool. He's like pretty committed to improving by the sounds of it then.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of like you've been to quite a few tournaments this year. You spoke about quite a few on your podcast. Like you often partner up with Chris now in like gender doubles, right? But I'm just interested. What was your favorite event of the year this year?
Let me think. Favorite event. Um, let's see. I would say favorite event that I competed in. I would have to say is, uh, I don't know. Now that I think about it, I really need to think about it. Maybe, maybe this last. Nah, I'm trying to think. Is it Kansas City or the Texas Open? There was. I would say my favorite event I went to was actually Beer City Open, but I didn't play in that event. I worked that event, but it was a lot of
Right, right.
fun. And the tournament is just really lively, and the venue's nice, and I really like the setup. I would say for Chris and I think the Texas Open, that was our first time kind of competing with each other, so that was kind of memorable, and we didn't do that bad. Uh, I was thinking Kansas City Open because Chris and I did really well. We got silver in gender doubles, uh, but it was just very, very hot. But I really did enjoy our final match in the evening under the lights. That was really cool. And then some of our fans and our friends and our family stayed to watch the match, and we got like a large court with the lights. It felt, you know, it felt really cool to do that one. So maybe I would say Kansas City because it was our best performance, and it was my best performance in mixed and gender doubles, and just playing in the evening under the lights is a really cool experience.
Cool. That is cool when it's floodlit. Makes it all a little bit different. We had that actually at the Mediterranean Open. Like I'd just been to that the last weekend, and nice weather, and then nice evenings, and then they had because it was at the Rafa Nadal Academy, right? So
Oh wow.
they got hundreds, tens of tennis courts that they create pickleball courts on, and but they had like a center court which
Was it hard court or was they line it on clay?
no. So he's got out there. They've got like I think it's like 20 like hard courts. I think it's like 12, 13 like clay courts, and they got indoor
Hmm.
clay courts. They got paddle courts. They got one
Oh
pickleball
yeah.
court now, but they taped out the rest. But the center court they had was kind of dug into the ground, so you sort of look down on the court in the tennis court, which they made two pickleball courts, and then as they dig it down, it's kind of seating all the way down, so it's kind of in a hole, but then they have
Oh,
the floodlights like pointing down into there, so that's pretty cool.
that sounds really cool. Really epic. So it was almost like stadium seating.
Yeah,
You're looking down.
yeah, for sure. But
Oh yeah,
that
very.
was cool. So, but yeah, it definitely under floodlights. It's like any sport under floodlights. Just feels better for some reason.
Yeah, there's a feeling that you get, and I think you play better. It just makes you
Yeah,
feel like, you're, a professional. I guess is what it feels like to be a professional athlete, to play under the lights. Yeah,
yeah,
it gets
yeah,
you
that's
pumped
right.
up.
Awesome. So what is it if you had to say a few things, what is it you enjoy most about running a podcast or a YouTube channel?
Oh man, let's see. I think I think being able to like reach out to people, like connect with people. So it's all the ancillary things that come with running the channel, right? So when I go to an event and like people like see us, and they know us and they love the pod, they love the content. It just makes it easier to connect with people and to like start a conversation and talk to people. I think that's really cool. And if the videos have helped out these people, or they enjoy it, they smile about it, they find enjoyment out of it. That is the best part, I think, of running the channel. And meeting the fans and the people who are engaging, etc. That is the best part. But the other stuff, I don't know. It sometimes it gets fun, but it can also get dry or boring too. Like just all the amount of writing that I'm doing and the amount of filming and
Yeah,
editing,
yeah,
that can become a little mundane sometimes. Although there are times if I'm excited about a certain video or project that I do like doing it, but it's all the ancillary things outside of the podcast and the channel that I like.
yeah, for sure. Um, Yeah, you were saying about like people recognizing your events. Like, I was just thinking about one of your recent episodes where Chris was saying that people kept confusing him for Ben Johns, like on more than one occasion, and I just thought that was absolutely
Yeah.
hilarious because I know you need to look at Chris and Ben Johns and think how did they get that, but
Yeah.
um, that was making me
I
laugh
can
quite a lot.
kind of see it sometimes if you put them side by side, and Chris
Maybe I should
wasn't
do that.
smiling, if he was in a bad mood, you can kind of see it. Like basically, what I'm trying to say is that if Chris told me or told you that he's cousins with Ben Johns, it's highly believable. is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I need to put them side by side properly to see this. But
Yeah, put it side by side. You'll see it. You'll see it.
cool. All right. Well, yeah. So you and Chris are like pretty famous for your paddle reviews. I think you're kind of recognized as probably the best reviewers in terms of like content creators
Yeah.
around. What
I
is the
mean,
process that? Go ahead. Sorry.
no. Yeah, I'll get into the process as well. I would say Chris is probably the most well known, and I sometimes I feel like I'm just known because I'm associated with Chris, right?
Hmm.
I would argue that John Q is probably the second most famous and well-known paddle reviewer, and it's because John goes really technical. I'm more of like how it feels, and Chris is somewhere in between. Although I know he really enjoys the technical stuff, but his quality is, you know, top notch, and his production is top notch. Um, and I would say the process is very similar for most of us. Well, for Chris and John at least, they probably do the specs first. You know, swing weight, twist weight. Uh, I don't have the machine to like measure that. I usually ask them to measure those for me, and then for me, I usually play with the paddle like extensively. Like, but I need to play with it for about at least I would say 3 to 5 sessions that are like 2 hours long to get a really good feel of the paddle.
Hmm.
I think Chris can probably now do one session and he has a pretty good idea of where he ranks it and where the paddle kind of plays. But for me, it's like I I just hit around with it a lot, right? Like drilling with it, doing all the different shots, and then after that, playing with it in game, and then I try to play with it outdoors, and then I try to playing with it. And at least now, I try playing the paddle with the different balls to make sure that my notes from each play session. So it's like I write notes down on how I think it plays, and then the next session I'll change up one variable, right? Like before it will be indoors, and the next day it'll be outdoors, and then the day after that it'll be a different ball, and then the day after that it'll be mostly games instead of drilling, and then the next day after that, once I kind of have some data points, I will usually have another like sister paddle that I think it plays very close to, and then I will grab that sister paddle, right? And then I'll play with both those paddles like side by side, and then that will either like confirm what I feel, or my views or perspective about the paddle, and then I kind of go from there. And then throughout this process, I'm really trying to formulate a story behind the paddle. And the easiest way to formulate the story is like through comparison or with the company, right? Because I don't know, for me it gets boring just to talk about specs and how it plays, but
Yeah.
if a company has an interesting story or angle to tell with their paddle or their product from a performance standpoint or something that they do with marketing, etc., or maybe there's some new technology or there's a new shape, but there's some story behind how they're doing things, why they're doing things, that makes my job easier and more compelling for me to make a video about it.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Definitely. I think. Yeah, hearing the story is always interesting. Or even like, yeah, there's like a a story on the within the product range as well. I kind of heard as like another great way to do it. So
Yeah,
there's the way that the products evolved over time and like the improvements that were made. Like that's kind of a good story to tell. But yeah, always kind of the backstory of companies. This is why I do this kind of podcast as well, because I like hearing people's stories, and stories they're, they're interesting more than just hearing product specs, like you say, right?
right, exactly. I totally agree. Then here, just hearing lists because, I mean, some people want that, right? And the people
Hmm.
who want that, they can get some of that from Chris. They can get some of that from John Q. But yeah, I like telling the story and I like describing how like a paddle feels or will make you feel as you're playing because like the specs will kind of dictate how you feel on court, but you won't know until you actually play with the paddle, right? It's like its performance, it can be emotional, right?
Hmm.
Like you
Hmm.
could play well with the paddle, even though like some specifications for a paddle may not be the best for you, but you can still play well with it because you're tied to that brand, and that brand makes you feel a certain way, right? So if you feel good, like emotionally,
Hmm.
typically you also perform well and perform good. So I think that feel you get is important, which is why I like telling the story of the progression, because people like to be tied to, you know, a story of a paddle, whether it's the company or the paddle itself.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so on your channel, occasionally you have a feature called Pros versus Joes. So yeah, I'm just interested to hear
Yeah.
like the inspiration around that, and if you can share some of the, like the funny moments that you had doing recording some of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always wanted to actually kind of do that. I've been inspired uh, to do that because there's other channels that do similar things that I watch, from other sports channels to gaming channels. They play against the pros or somebody much better. The
Yeah,
main inspiration from it comes from um, a channel from Adam Brobow. I don't know if you heard of him, but he's
table
a
tennis guy.
very yeah, table tennis. Yeah, very
Yeah, I
well
know
known
him. Yeah.
table tennis influencer, and he does that. He plays against other pros from other countries, um, and I love that series from him. And I wanted to mimic and do something similar, with my own flair, and that's kind of how it kind of began. And my first person was with Jay DeVilliers. He came to town. He's good friends with another pro here in Tulsa, and Jay DeVilliers came into town to do a clinic, and he had a session or a part of the day where you get to play with him. But I remember that all the sessions like ran out; they filled up, and uh, I just wanted to play with him, and so I told Grant, which is his friend, who's the other pro, I said, "Hey, ask Jay if he'll do one more set. He can squeeze another session like right after lunch because he had like a 2 hour lunch break, I think." And I was like, if he'll squeeze another session, tell him that I will pay for three people, because it usually those sessions to play with Jay, it's doubles, and each person pays like 50 or $75 to play with him.
Hmm.
So it's like, you know, three people play like $50 and then they play with Jay, right? And
Yeah.
um, I told Graham, and I was like, tell Jay I'll pay for four people if he'll play me one on one, and tell him that like I get to record it and put it on YouTube. And Jay accepted, and Jay said that if I get a game off of him, like it's free. So like I challenged him and I played him. I recorded it. I lost every single match. I think we played 5 games. It got better, but I was just so tired out. And then after that, I just knew I wanted to keep on with this series, and I've been lucky enough to play with, let's see, Julian Arnold, James Ignatowicz. Um, there was a time I got to play with Kyle McMakin and Susanna Barr. That doubles match is on Chris's channel, I believe. But he's too busy now. I don't think he's gonna do that series anymore. It's kind of like my thing. So I have a few more that I need to do, and I've lined up a few other pros, or either pros who have given me verbal agreements that they would participate. Um,
Yeah.
but I need to put some more focus into that for sure.
So have you managed to get a game from off of any pro so far?
Yeah, I've beaten Alex Trung. She is a next gen player. She just turned 18 this year. She plays a lot on the APP. She doesn't really compete in singles that
Yeah.
much, but she agreed to do it with me. To be fair, I've never ever beaten Alex in doubles. So there's that. Uh, let's see. I think let me see who else have I played. Leah Jansen, I got destroyed by. So no, I haven't beaten any of the pros yet, except for Alex Strong. I think I would have to train a little bit more. I think the possibility is there for some of these matches, like a slim possibility. But No, it's really hard to like keep up that level for an extended period of time, you know? And I just need to
Yeah,
play and
yeah.
I need to practice a lot more.
I haven't watched the Leia Jansen one, but yeah, I can imagine that was she's quite good, isn't she, at singles?
Yeah, she was good. Well, but she also you can kind of tell what the vibe is when you go when they agree to some of these challenges. And Leia Jansen was like, nah, she went in. She's no mercy, right? Like there was
Yeah,
no
I can
relaxation.
imagine.
There was no fun to be had. And as soon as I got a few points off of her, she said, nah, she's not letting this happen. So she went, yeah, she went at it.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. It was tough against her. But I'm hoping my endeavors for next year are better.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the Leia Jansen one now. I can imagine totally that she went full game face. But yeah, that's funny.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
Okay, like looking forward then into like over the next maybe 12, 24 months, like what are you seeing happening in pickleball? What are you most excited about? What's coming in pickleball?
Oh man. What I'm excited to see is the development of inter-club uh, kind of events, cross-club events and
Uh-huh.
tournaments. I know, like if you look in Arizona, they have the Orchard and they have
Yeah.
the different neighborhoods. They play each
Uh-huh.
other. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. And even in Minnesota, where Chris is from, they have so many indoor facilities there that they've been doing clubs like where those clubs will draft players onto their team and like they play against each other. And I think that's very cool. It gives you a sense of, camaraderie or ownership
Yeah.
that you have of
Yeah.
your neighborhood or your club or your town. Uh, Even here, now that we're opening up our own indoor facility here, there's already talks. At least I want to do it where we, gain some. We gather some of our best players and formulate some sort of team, and we'll play against Oklahoma City, or maybe we'll go travel down, play against some teams down in Texas from other clubs. And I think that's gonna be really, really cool. Like it'll give you, some pride, right? And I don't know. I think MLP was trying to do that, but they're trying to do that from like top down, to kind of give you that sense of sport, But whereas if you start it from the ground up, where you develop it from your local community, I think that will make those events like that much more engaging and exciting.
Yeah. No, definitely, I agree. Yeah, we have something similar. Like we have pickleball leagues in the UK, but like, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, the clubs do get involved, but yeah, I often thought about like, like when you think about soccer, like one of the things is like the names of the
Yes.
soccer teams are the names of the towns, right? And people get behind that because
Yeah.
they live and run around that town. Yeah, I've thought that would be cool and to do in the US. But that venue at the Orchard is insane as well, right? The recording quality of the stream is amazing.
Yes, yes, that's its own little event, and it would be cool to see something like that in kind of every town, and then that way, uh, you can see the best players from that time. Because like if you think about it, the Orchard, that's all everybody from like Arizona or like that greater Phoenix, metropolitan area. And so imagine if you had something similar to that, let's say in the UK or in another big city, right? And you get to watch it and you see who's playing. Then you have like video and like you have an idea of the talent pool, and then like a team captain. It'll be like Davis Cup in tennis. Like a team captain can
Yeah,
like watch the videos, draft their team. Is like, hey, like you know, we're from the Orchard. We're gonna go face like whoever from like the UK, and you can set that up and it become its own event.
hmm
And then from there, you can create some very interesting things. Like, you can hire commentators, streamers, vendors, and like, I think that will be very cool.
Yeah. Well, I even think like
Yeah, and I'd love to see that.
yeah, I mean, I think as well. I keep talking on this podcast about eventually in the future when it's more established in Europe, having a US versus Europe kind of style event like the Ryder Cup
Yeah,
and Davis Cup.
I
That would be
mean, yeah,
awesome.
like the Ryder Cup, right? Exactly. U.S. versus Europe versus Canada. I know there's people in Australia playing. I'm about to go to the Philippines and Taiwan to go play in Asia. Um,
Nice.
to have that, and that's another thing I'm very excited about pickleball is kind of like the spread of it worldwide. Um, and I mean, that's what we need to do if you want it to, become a larger sport and, people talking about it getting to the Olympics, etc. That I think that's what we need to do is just like kind of grow the sport from a grassroots level, from like bottom up in all these other places. And I mean, it's happening. I mean, like you have this podcast over in the UK. I know um, my buddy Raul Barrios, I played my first doubles tournament with him. He's from Bolivia and he's the president of the pickleball like federation in Bolivia. And he said he's in like a group chat with some other people who are playing now in like Brazil and some other South American nations and Central American like countries as well, and they're trying to grow it from the grassroots level. So I'm very excited to see what it's going to look like, right, and how these other countries kind of tackle pickleball and promote pickleball.
Yeah, nice, nice. So, what looking into 2024? Do you have any kind of events that you're planning on attending, either playing or are you planning to go to any MLP events or anything like that to go watch? What plans you got for 2024?
Um, let's see. Well, I'm gonna go to Taiwan and the Philippines in January. Uh, to, I mean, I'm going for a wedding, but I'm taking a little side trip to go check out the pickleball scene there.
Uh-huh.
In terms of tournaments, not so much right now. There was a pickleball convention in Kansas City that I plan on going to. I'll probably do the Nationals again, probably US Open, Texas Open, and really, I think I'm gonna focus less on. I mean, I know I'm still gonna go to these events and compete, but I'm gonna focus less on competing and really going to events to kind of just network, make content with people, go into other people's like podcasts and shows to do what I can to like promote pickleball. So that's kind of my game plan, but it's not set in stone just yet. It's still a lot up in the air. But on my website, on pickleballwill.com, I'm going to have a page there soon, which is going to kind of show my itinerary and update my itinerary. So like people will be able to see where I plan on to like going and where I plan on playing. So if you check that and you want to come meet me or come talk to me at these events, you can kind of see it. And that was
Yeah,
one of the ideas I had for my website.
yeah, yeah. Are you planning on uh, pairing up with Chris for the men's events mostly still next year as well?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pair up with him definitely for a few events for sure, but I also plan on pairing up um, with my buddy Jeff Lee. He's another budding content creator from Austin, Texas. We're gonna play a little bit more 5-0 like tournaments and events. I think right now, as it stands, I think Chris and I have kind of not really reached the peak, but we're close to like the peak of what we can do together. I, I personally feel like I am. When I'm not consistent a 5-0 player, but I know I can play pretty strongly at the 5-0 level, but I'm not strong enough of a 5-0 player to kind of carry Chris, I would say. And I mean, I'm more of like 5-0, like a right side player, like support player. So I need somebody who's a little bit more powerful, a little bit more explosive, and
Hmm.
so I think I'm gonna get that with my buddy Jeff. So I'm kind of excited to see how that goes and kind of improve my skills there. Um, I might also travel a little bit more as a personal like coach for my good buddy Kale Hammond. He's a pro player here from Tulsa, and he's going to be going to a lot more events. And
Yeah.
he tells me that he needs somebody in his corner, so he asked me because I drill with him. So I said, all right, I'll come through and I'll be your coach.
Okay. Nice. Nice. What about, do you have a partner for mixed that you're going to be work with, or?
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit more mixed this year. Like prior to like the last two events that I went to, I did not play mixed at all. Like I never had a mixed partner.
No.
But now my friend Katie here in Tulsa, she's a coach here. We've been playing 4-5 mixed, some 5-0 mixed together, and we've been doing pretty good. She's great, solid player, and we have good chemistry together. And uh, like I think it's also helping me play a little bit more aggressive. I think it'll probably help my gender doubles play a little bit more, but we haven't decided upon which events we're going to go to or do. But if I go to an event and I decide to play mixed, she's like number one on my list. I'll probably, do a few more here and there with a few other people's, but I still need to, I guess, see who's available. It's kind of hard to get a good mixed partner. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm new enough on the scene, and nobody at my club really goes to any of the events. So, like, I just get a random person kind of selected with me for when I attend an event. I just put my name in, and whoever gets matched up, gets matched up. So, I'm looking forward to like
Yeah.
getting to some more clubs that have kind of got more regular people that go to these kind of events that I can kind of then start pairing up with. I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Will, for like the time. Like we're at the hour mark now, so I want to be respectful of your time. But I just want to say thanks for coming on. And if people want to follow what you're doing and you don't know where to find you, like where should they go?
Yeah, you can go to YouTube and just search up Pickleball Will. You can also go to the Pickleball Studios channel as well to check out our podcast or check out our podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your pod. You can also follow me on Instagram at Pickleball Will as well. And then I guess you can also now go to my website, which is just pickleballwill.com. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the internet.
Awesome. Yeah, get subscribing. All good content, I can say for myself. So, yeah, I really like watching your content. Thanks for doing what you do. And yeah, thanks for coming on the Pickleball Addiction podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark. It was a pleasure.